ambassadors and investors introduce themselves, and then we'll get started. What I normally like to do, I'm not going to use the mic. I do move around a little bit. So if you can't hear in the back, I'm going to ask you to move up. Okay, so can everybody hear in the back?
What? I can't hear you.
I got a perfect spot right here for you. No, you good? All right, cool. All right, guys, go ahead.
All right, so my name is Nicole. I'm an ambassador. I'm a senior at high school out here at Harrison High School. We have evaluation forms that we're going to end up passing out, and if you guys could pass it back to us before you leave, that'd be much appreciated. And then, yeah.
I'm Justin from Harrison High School too. I'm a sophomore ambassador. On the papers, there's a couple things that are wrong on it.
The paper says something completely opposite of what the actual program you're in, because they gave us it different. So if you could just fill it out as if it is. It's not going to say FAFSA, whatever your workshop in, it's going to say like cultural identity, something like that. So that, just disregard that. We're still handing you the correct ones. And then I would like to present my presenter with this. It's this cool little ECOC thing, since she's a speaker at it. That's cute. Yeah, that's awesome.
All right, so good. Okay, so yeah, my name is Freddie Garciaga, and I am the Director of Financial Education at a college in Colorado. And so we'll talk all about that. But I'll give you a little bit about my history. I've been in the business for about 16 years now as a professional in financial aid, so I love questions. So who here has never been through the FAFSA process? Okay, so a few of us have, right? Yes? Okay, good. So, and we might have questions? Good. So moving forward a little bit more about myself is my parents dropped me off. I made a joke earlier, but it's true. My parents dropped me off at campus and said, "We love you and good luck." And I'm a twin, so both my brother and I, they dropped us off here at CSU Pueblo. And I'm from a small town in southeast Colorado. And so it was tough. Pueblo was a big city, the university was a big campus for me, and there was a lot of adjustments. So thinking back about where I came from to where I'm at now is really a big transition, and I'm kind of proud of where I came from. I did borrow money. I did apply for scholarships, which we'll talk about. But you know, there's a little bit of work involved with this. So I'm glad you guys are here. It's a good turnout. I was worried about the turnout for this afternoon. I've never been to this conference, so I'm excited to see you guys. All right, I'm going to let my colleague Brianna introduce herself.
My name is Brianna Kataskis, and I work with Freddie at College in Colorado, and my role is a little bit different from Freddie's. I'm the project coordinator for corrections outreach. So I go into prisons and parole offices and all that kind of good stuff and talk to people about their educational needs as far as re-entry, and so I do a lot of financial aid work as well. And my background is fairly similar to Freddie's, first generation college student, daughter of incarcerated parent, and I just walked on campus and was like, I'm here. That's most of the battle, right? You know, so it was really a strange place for me, and I got through it, and I, like Freddie, applied for some scholarships, have some loans as a result, but definitely grateful for the opportunity to achieve some education. And I'll kind of be assisting Freddie, but he's the real financial aid expert, so I'll let him do that.
Don't let her kid you. So I know that the description of this presentation talked about 529s and other matters with financial aid. So we're not going to go in depth about 529 plans because that's separate. It's not financial aid. We can talk about it. If you have questions, we can definitely talk about it. So if you want to do that, we can totally talk about that afterwards, or we can answer questions and we can quickly answer that. This presentation is meant to be a basic financial aid 101, just like it describes. So to answer questions from the beginning, and then what types of financial aid you're applying for, maybe some timelines. So if you have further questions, and what I'm anticipating is this for to prompt questions from you guys. Okay, so we have a little bit of time to play with. So I'm all about questions. Okay, and Brianna, if I can say anything, please jump in and let me know. Okay. Okay, so let me get the. We'll just talk about 529s really quick. They're not 429s. That was a misprint. I saw the agenda. I'm like, wait, what's a 429? It should be 529, as we know. The way it impacts financial aid is it will affect the EFC, the expected family contribution, which is what we'll talk about. The EFC is what describes or indicates to the school, the college, or the students attending, how to award the student with free money, work study money, and loan money. Okay, so the 529, if it's in the student's name, will affect the EFC and bring it up. If the student is not the owner, it's the parent or grandparent or aunt or uncle, then it can reduce a little bit of the EFC, okay, depending on assets, depending on other things that we'll go over in the presentation. Clear as mud? All right. Okay, any questions on that? Yeah, seriously. If you have further questions, our sister agency, we're College in Colorado, our sister agency, College Invest, are the folks to contact, okay? I don't have their information for the 100 number with me, but they are a sister agency to College in Colorado, okay? So if you want to contact them, maybe start a 529 plan, or maybe if you have further questions about how that affects with penalties when it's dispersed, if you have one in there, it will go directly to the school. It used to go to the student and family, now it goes directly from College Invest, we'll say, to the school, university. That's new this year. I just started. Okay. Okay. All right. So, Rihanna, talk about Rihanna. All right. We're done. Yay. I don't want to talk about it. I guess I have to use this. This way. Sorry. Thank you.
This is what my generation is.
I wonder how, okay, I'm going to try it again because I want to see. There we go. Okay, so College in Colorado. Who here has been to this website as a resource? Okay, a few of us. Okay, good. I'm sorry if I get in the way. So what this is important for us to know. Okay, first of all, folks, it's free. Okay, I work in the financial aid office on 3 different campuses across the state. I didn't realize the extent that this tool serves. Okay, you guys and your students. I really want you to know this. As you can see, it talks in regard to middle school, high school, college level, parent, and then transfer or adult, we'll say adult learner. Okay, please know that this information here is free to you guys, and it does go in depth about financial aid. For high school students, for middle school students, it will go in depth about maybe finding a career, finding the right college. Just because it's College in Colorado doesn't mean you can only go to college in Colorado. Okay, this serves you in general. It will help find information about what school cost, how far, maybe how big a school. You can identify different factors by looking in here of what it's going to work for the student, what it's going to work for the student. Okay, so I'll get out of that first. But on top, specifically, we'll talk a little bit more in depth. Granted, if I miss anything, please let me know. But financial aid planning, that's going to be the piece that you all want to look at. So I'm going to go over it, we'll say briefly today, but then if you have more questions tonight or in the future as you go into the FAFSA for your students in the next year, tonight, next 5 years, whatever, please take a look at this, because it is information directly from the federal government, and that's the application you're trying to do. Okay? All right. Okay, so the other piece I wanted to talk about is the College Opportunity Fund. It's funny, this is on financial aid, but we're not talking about financial aid just yet. So the College Opportunity Fund is a fund put together on your student's behalf. So the student will get paid $75 per credit hour. Okay, that's as of this year. So right now, if your student's in college, they'll get $75 per credit hour. This is free money. It's separate from financial aid. It's separate from a scholarship. It's just money that your student has to apply for once in their lifetime. So you go to the College Opportunity Fund website if they have not done this, or if you think they've done this but you're not sure, you can still go to the website, College Opportunity Fund, and try to enter information, and it will have you come up if you've already done it for your student or your student's already done it, or it won't. Okay, if it doesn't, then you just put in information for that. Okay, this number could change, the 75, if they're participating part-time or a private participating college, then it would be $38 per credit hour. This is for full-time, this is for private or part-time. Four-year school or two-year school. Okay, so it goes directly to the college. Again, it's not an amount you're going to see in the board offer. It's just a deduction of the costs you're going to see in your student's bill. Has anyone applied for this for their students? Maybe they have an older student? Awesome. Okay, so the other piece I'll say, in working in the financial aid office, when the student goes to campus, they have to initiate every time they register for classes every semester. Some schools do it automatically, some schools do not. They say it's Freddie's responsibility, he's got to initiate that fund because that's his money. Okay, so just know that, hey Freddie, have you started your college opportunity fund yet this year? It's spring semester, have you done it? Okay, please make sure to tell your student that because it could be missing out on some free money. Okay. All right, so now we'll get into some nitty-gritty here. So don't let this screen scare you, and it should be an eye-opener, okay? So what this demonstrates here are 3 different examples of what it could cost to go to school. Okay, this is just an example, an estimate for the current year of what it could tend to be, what it could mean to attend a community college, a public school 4-year, or a private school. Okay, so we can see all encompassing. It could be 17,000 to 27,000 to 57,000. Okay, again, what does that mean? Yes, bless you. So what I get asked a lot is, Freddie, what does it really cost me to go to school? My student's going to live at home. What does it really cost? Okay, so we know tuition and fees are going to be direct costs. What you're going to be paying at a school, so let's say you have a student that lives on campus, what you're going to be paid at direct costs are going to be tuition fees, room and board, and books and supplies. Okay, so tuition fees, books and supplies are direct costs. So when you're going to start hearing those terms, just know that's what it is. All-encompassing or other factors that go into the total cost of attendance are going to be personal, transportation, and medical. Well, Freddie, what if I cover my own students with my own insurance? That's fine. This is just including that option right there. So if you have your student covered, we know that's the cost that's not going to be added to your total cost of attendance for that school. Anybody here have a senior in high school? Okay, good. Okay, good. So I'll be kind of targeting those folks, just and anybody else, please. I don't leave anybody out, but I'll be asking some questions for you guys on things that, based on my experience, it might be timely to talk about. Okay, like scholarships and FAFSA and stuff. Really, anything to add to this?
Yeah, as far as this medical piece, it's actually a requirement for schools that your student has some form of insurance. And so a lot of times if a student doesn't have insurance, the school will charge them their insurance, which is traditionally a lot more expensive than some of the other options out there for them. So, and if they are on Medicare or Medicaid or whatever, then that will cover them for insurance. But that's really, really important to know because there is actually a fee if they don't have any insurance at all. And that's kind of a silly thing to run into. So.
Yeah, it is expensive, but you just mentioned it. The insurance that the school charges, so if Freddie goes to campus and doesn't have insurance covered to his parents, or maybe that's not an option, it is more expensive to go to the school because the student must have insurance at a 2-year school or a 4-year school. Okay, there's different options to look into, so please make sure that you guys ask about that when you go to your schools. Okay. Thank you, Bill. Okay, so financial aid. Financial aid is money that is lent or given to you based on your eligibility. Okay, so it's to pay for education expenses. So when you're applying for financial aid, the FAFSA, you're applying for grants, work study, and loans. Okay? I can't stress that enough because people say, what about scholarships? Yes, scholarships are considered a form of financial aid, but for every one scholarship, you're making a separate application. It's not from the federal government, it's from private or public entities. Okay, so FAFSA financial aid is grants, work study, and loans. Okay, we don't worry about that. Scholarships, you should be applying for as many as possible separately. Okay, and how are we going to do that? We'll talk about that a little bit further. Okay, I hope I don't have any purses thrown in for bags. Okay, so the other piece here, and this is really elementary, guys, but this is based on, we put this presentation together because these are some questions and issues that come up year after year. Okay, what is the FAFSA? What is the financial aid? It's a free application for federal student aid. That's what FAFSA stands for. If you go to FAFSA.gov, it's free. If you go to FAFSA.com, you're going to pay for it. What's wrong with this picture? Free application, right? I had a cousin pay $2,000 to help someone put together FAFSA and guaranteed scholarship. Okay, so please be careful. They are, yeah, they got you. It's not a scam, but it is legit. But it's just a service you want to make sure you're not paying for it because you're going to do it yourself. Okay. Anything to add to that, Graham? No? Okay, so this is what the website looks like when you start a FAFSA. Okay, so I want you guys to know this picture, whether it's this year, next year, 4 years. I just did my FAFSA for graduate school, and so here I go. I'm like, okay, let's make sure I'm doing the right thing. Just know for you folks, the senior folks, have you guys done your FAFSA yet? Okay, good. Yes? Okay, good. How about in the back? Not yet? That's okay. You want to try and do it as soon as possible though. What does it mean? Freddie, why are you telling us this? Because we haven't processed our taxes. You want to estimate, you can estimate your information that the FAFSA asks for. It's going to ask for student financial information. If that's applicable, you're going to ask, it's going to also ask for parent financial information. I'm sorry? Yeah, so you can do that now. You can estimate using last year's numbers. Okay, so people say, that doesn't make any sense. It's asking me for 15. I don't have my 15 done. It can throw you off, but just know that as of today, if I go do my FAFSA, I'm doing it based off last year's numbers. Because maybe they won't have changed. And if they have, that's okay, because you're still going to go back and make a correction. So you're starting with FAFSA. If you haven't done it, if you're going to make a correction and clean up the information, you're going to log in. Okay? Excuse me. All right, so kind of some information we covered already, but just really quick, the FAFSA, ooh, this is a good one. This is different starting next year. The FAFSA is available every January 1st until this year. And after this year, it's going to be available October 1st. That's a good thing. So you can be able to apply for financial aid moving forward starting in October. But for now, for purposes for this year, you apply for financial aid after January 1st. We're past that, so now you can do that estimated information. Okay? Every college and university or state that your college belongs to, if that makes sense, your college is in, is going to have or could have their own priority date. Okay, so Colorado, for example, if you go in the FAFSA and I'm going to go to school in Colorado, not for Oklahoma, Colorado says see your school's priority date. What that means is the financial aid is available January 1st. Schools will start awarding financial aid. They'll start giving students award letters, and based on that, the student can accept or decline their financial aid, grants, work study loans. Okay? So based on that information, the student will be able to go on there and take a look and see, okay, if I'm going to school in Oklahoma, their priority deadline might be February 1st. That means that the schools that your students attending wants that FAFSA by that date for full consideration. I can still submit the FAFSA after that, but for full consideration, if I have a 0 EFC, I'm eligible for some money. But the school may run out of that money. The only award that's guaranteed is the federal Pell Grant. Okay, and that's entitlement based on need, which we'll talk about just a little bit. Does that make sense? So please pay attention to priority deadlines of the schools your students attending. Okay? Anything back to that? Okay, some more information here. Students to be eligible for the FAFSA to apply for federal aid or state aid, student must be a legal resident or U.S. citizen. Okay. There is an opportunity here in Colorado, and I'll just briefly mention this. If the student is asset eligible, it will be determined by the school themselves. Okay, that will be an option for the student to pay in-state tuition, not receive federal or state aid. In some cases, the school can receive or award that students that may be asset eligible institutional funding, which is private. Okay, set aside for that purpose only. Okay, if you have any questions about that, please see me afterwards. Okay. All right, so some documents needed will be W-2 forms, federal income tax, which we talked about, and then untaxed income records. You're going to know what the FAFSA is asking. Okay, current savings and checking. The only thing I can add to this or point out on this piece right there is you wanted to put in on the FAFSA what it asks for after your bills are paid. Okay, so not when you get deposited, but what your bills are, or when you have to brush your bills. If it's 0, it's 0. Okay, they're asking for that because they want to know what's available to pay towards the student's education. That's why they ask for that. Oh, and then you'll see, of course, the investment stocks, bonds, the 529 piece which we talked about earlier. And again, you'll know where to indicate that appropriately as it asks for in the past. Okay, so I threw this in here, and because we kind of talked about it, but this is in our general presentation. Asset is, again, a form of paying in-state tuition. It's not financial aid. If you have any questions in regard to this, I won't go into much more detail with this, but students who are attending a school that does